Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's makeup look, as you can tell, is Wonder Woman, and it's a comic book inspired makeup look. To start with, I'm going to use Kryolan Super Colour, and this is quite a thick foundation, so I'm going to warm it up on the back of my hand. I'm taking one colour that's slightly darker than my skin tone and one colour that's slightly lighter. To get that comic book appearance to our face, we are going to be heavily contouring and highlighting, and this is going to give us a more structured appearance to our face. I'm applying this highlight in the usual areas, so the forehead, down the centre of the nose, the brow bone, the chin and the sides of the jaw. I'm then using a buffing brush just to work that in. We are going to be going in with an even lighter colour just to really bring highlights to the face, but for now this is just going to bring forward the high planes of the face like we would if we were doing generic highlighting and contouring. Now remember, it's going to look really odd until we've completed the makeup look because we are trying to mimic something that looks comic based as opposed to human. So now we've buffed that into the skin, you can see all those areas of the face look more highlighted and more prominent. I'm now going in with the darker of the Super Colour to add some contour to the face. I'm actually using a comic picture of Wonder Woman as my reference. If you're familiar with comics, then you will know that the highlights and the shadows are all very distinctive because it is a drawing. If they wanted a slightly blended appearance, they would either use cross-hatching, or like the Liechtenstein, they would use the dots to create a little bit of a gradient. So even though we are going for that comic appearance to the face, I'm not going to go as defined as the highlight and shadows are on the picture. We're just going to use these colours to bring a little bit more definition to our face, just so it looks a little bit more like Wonder Woman. I've applied the contour around the forehead, making sure to leave that centre part with nothing there apart from the highlight. I've also left a little bit of a highlight just above the eyebrows. I've taken that contour colour from the brow bone, around the temples and onto the cheekbones, swooping it down towards the chin, also down the smile lines. And these are all the visibly darker areas on the picture that I'm using as my reference. If you're not confident in doing this, you don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. You could just do all your foundation, add your highlight, and then at the very end you could just go in with a dark contour colour that's powder form and just contour the areas yourself. The reason I've chose to do it with the Super Colour first is because it's quite a thick foundation, which gives you more of a masked appearance to your face, which is what we're going for because obviously it's a comic based makeup. You don't want to look real, you want to look like a character. I'm using a smaller brush just to blend all that in. The reason I'm using a smaller brush is so that we can keep the contour in the areas that we've applied it. We don't want to blend it out or we'll lose the structure that we've created using that contour colour. I'm now going back in with the highlight colour and I'm applying that to the eyelids just to round them off and make the eyelid look a little bit bigger. I'm also going to take it around the cheekbones and just restructure those, making them look a little bit more like they do in the photo. And also you may be wondering why I've got a darker section on one side of the bridge of my nose than the other. That's because she has a darker shadow on one side in the photo. Going back to my Super Colour palette, I'm taking an even lighter shade and I'm just going to highlight even more. On the reference image of Wonder Woman, there's some bright spots to the face, so using this lighter colour we're going to be able to bring that to my face. Again, that's going to look really weird at the moment, but once the whole entire look comes together, it will make sense. By applying the colour to one side of the bridge of my nose, you can see it's contrasted that shadow that we've applied on the right side. I'm also applying that just down the filter rim of my top lip and a little bit on the chin, and again a little bit just on the very centre of the forehead. And then I'm buffing that upwards just to blend into the colours that we've already applied. I'm reapplying that highlight above the brow and also just a little bit underneath the eyes and around the circumference of our cheekbones. We don't add too much of highlight to the top lip because I don't want it to look puffy, but by using what's left on the bristles it will add a subtle highlight. Now don't be tempted to blend everything in too much, trust me when I say it will all come together in the end. I'm using a small amount of translucent powder just to set everything in place. Start off light because you can always go back in at the very end and set everything properly. I'm taking this cream Super Colour in black and I'm using my Sigma FX10 brush. This is from their limited edition special effects brush set. If you don't have this, you can just use an angled liner brush. This gives you more control when you're mapping out a shape such as this one. So we're mapping out the headpiece. Being as we are painting this onto the head, we're doing Wonder Woman's crown upside down. We wouldn't be able to paint this into the hair, so it makes sense to do it this way up. If you imagine drawing a bird as you did when you was a child, just like a widespread V, that's what we're going to do to create the bottom half of our headpiece. You can see by using creams, if you make a mistake, it's easy enough to wipe away. I decided to darken around my hairline because it is comic-like. It makes sense to do a dark line all around the top of your head, plus we're going to be wearing a dark wig, so we don't want our natural scalp or hairline to show through. I'm using the Kryolan Aqua Colour in black to do this, and the brush I'm using is the Sigma FX8 brush. And again, this is from their limited edition special effects brush kit, and I will link that in the description bar of the video. Next I'm taking the Supercolor Metallic Gold, and the brush I'm using is the Luxie 215 brush. This is a angled liner brush and it works perfectly well with this product because it is synthetic, and those kind of bristles work best with cream based products. Whenever you're working with metallic based products, whether it be nail polish, face paint or cream based products like this one, try to work your brush in one direction. It doesn't matter if you apply it in alternative directions to begin with, but when you finish off, go back over all in one direction with your brush. That way you'll have less chance of seeing any brush stroke marks through your work. Next I'm going in with this medium red cream super colour, and I've cleaned the gold off my brush, so I'm using the same angled liner. I'm going to freehand the star emblem on the headpiece, and again the reason I've chose to use cream over paint is because it will be easy to remove if I make any mistakes. Once I've got the rough outline of the star, I'm then going to fill it in with the red super colour, and then I'm going to go back in with my Sigma FX10 angled liner brush just to define the points of the star and make it look a little bit more sharp. Now you really want to take your time when doing this. As we all know, drawing a star freehand can be extremely difficult. Mine isn't perfect, but I don't think I did a bad job. I'm then going in with a little bit of red and black paint mixed together, again from the Aqua Colour by Kryolan. It can be a struggle to paint over anything that's cream based, but if you use a light hand it can be done. So I'm just feathering the colour on the outer edge of one side of the star just to give it some dimension and make the emblem look a little bit more 3D. I just thought I'd show you, these are the three colours I used for the emblem. Going back to the headpiece, I'm taking the black and gold super colour and I'm going to mix them together to create a darker gold. So going back to our Luxie angled liner brush, I'm working that darker cream gold on the outer third of our headpiece, and this is going to create a 3D appearance to our crown, and it's going to make it look like it's moulded around our forehead. You don't want it to be too uniformed or too symmetrical to the opposite side. So on the left side, as you can see, I'm making the shadow look like it curves around, and on the right side the shadow's a little bit more straight, and that way it's going to make it look a little bit more realistic. As we get towards the very outer corners of the crown, I've added in a tiny little bit more of the black super colour just to add a darker shade, and this is going to look like it's got more of a shadow to the outer corners. To help make the star emblem look like it's raised off of the crown a little bit, we want to add a small amount of that darker gold in between a few legs of the star. Next I'm taking a matte brown eyeshadow, and this one is Brun by MAC. On my angled Luxie liner brush, I'm just going to follow the line of the bottom of the crown. We want to ever so slightly pull the colour down and just blend it into the super colour foundation, and this is going to create a soft shadow appearance, making the crown look like it sits on the face. Then on my Sigma FX10 brush, I've dipped that into a little bit of the black cream super colour, and again lining just above that brown. In my comic reference image, Wonder Woman has got thick black eyebrows, so I'm using my Kryolan Aqua Colour in black and my Illamasqua angle brush to create some nice strong eyebrows. If your natural brows are very fine, you can use a stencil for this. I'm following my natural shape but lining right to the very top and the very base of them, so they're as thick as they naturally can possibly be. I'm making sure they're nice and angular from the very front of the brow right up to the arch. And then I'm just extending the tail longer than my natural eyebrow just to make them more like Wonder Woman's. On my Sigma FX9 brush, I'm adding a little bit of that lightest highlighter on either side of my brow, and again this is just to copy the highlighted areas on the comic reference image. Moving on to the eyes, I'm taking my Sigma FX7 brush, which is like a short stubby pencil brush, and I'm working that same matte brown eyeshadow, which was Brun from MAC, and I'm working that onto the outer corners of the eye. Once we've laid that colour down on the outer corner, with what's left on the bristles we want to round the eye off, so we want to pull the colour through the socket line to the inner corner of the eye. So although we are creating a more rounded socket, we're still giving the eye a little bit of lift by pulling it out at that outer corner, and then we're also going to take it under the lower lash line just to frame the eye. This is going to make our eyes look a lot bigger and very much like the comic version of Wonder Woman. Next I'm taking this matte bone colour eyeshadow from my Louise palette, and I'm using my Luxie 213 eyeshadow brush, and I'm applying that colour to the mobile eyelid, and I'm making sure to take it right up to the socket so that we get that nice rounded appearance to our eyes. Moving on to eyeliner, I'm taking my Kryolan cream liner in Ebony, which is black, and using my Blank Canvas Cosmetics F28 liner brush, I'm lining the top lid. I'm creating a small point at the inner corner of the eye, and then I'm drawing a thick straight line all the way to the outer corner. By drawing in a straight line, we're going to create a thicker outer edge, so we don't want to pull it out in a sharp wing, but we do want to make it thicker on the outer corner. We're also going to tight line the eye and go along the waterline. Placing our brush underneath our lower lashes, we're going to go from the inner corner where the point is and pull that all the way along underneath the lower lashes to the outer edge, and then we're going to just colour in between our lashes so it's nice and inky black. After applying some mascara, I'm taking these lashes by Esquido, and these are called Amp It Up. I have a separate tutorial on how to apply false eyelashes, and I will link that in the description bar. Next I'm taking this vintage Dior blush, and this is in the shade 849 Contour. Using my Luxie Lush 504 large angled face brush, I'm taking that down the area that we contoured earlier using the Supercolor foundation. To create the perfect Wonder Woman lip, I'm using this NARS Mysterious Red Velvet Matte Lip Pencil, and I can't tell you how amazing this is. This pencil and formula is an absolute dream to work with. It literally just glides on, and as you can see, the pigment payoff is phenomenal. A lot of matte lip pencils are super drying, but this one doesn't feel like that. Although it does have that matte feel to your lips, it isn't super drying like a lot of them. It just feels really nice, and if I could recommend any matte lip product, it would definitely be this range. And oddly enough, I only bought this on a whim because if I spent a little bit extra I got free shipping, so that was a right touch. So before I went any further to complete the distinctive comic line work, I thought I'd show you what it looks like completed with the outfit before we move on. Using my black aqua colour paint, I'm drawing a line down the right side of my nose, all the way down the bridge, and then following the curve around the tip of my nose. Copying the reference images, you want to curve around the very base of your nostril and then follow the edge all the way along up to the highest point of your nostril. And you want to do this on both sides. I'm going to add some sketch lines halfway down the bridge of my nose on the left side. I'm also going to add one following the curve of my chin on the left side. I'm adding a slightly curved line at the top of my cheekbone. This is just going to emphasise the shape of it. And I'm adding a few sketch lines on the hollows of the cheeks. I'm going to use my matte brown eyeshadow to create some more shading. We want to apply this on the inner socket of the eyes, which will make the bridge of the nose at the very top appear thinner. I'm also using that to help deepen the shading on the hollows of the cheeks. We only need a small amount of this as we've already got the shading there from the Supercolor foundation. If we hadn't have applied that, then we would have been doing a lot more work. I'm also applying some of that matte brown in line with the arch of our eyebrow, and this is going to give our forehead a more angular appearance, making us appear more drawn. With what's left on the bristles, I'm just going to apply that underneath the curve of the crown, and again this is just adding a little bit more shading. Next I'm taking the super white translucent powder from my Soap & Glory Kick-Ass Concealer. I'm applying that down the centre of the nose and then at the very high points of the cheekbones. Again, this is just going to make it look more angular because it's super white. It's contrasting against the contour we got underneath, so we're getting a more angular appearance. So we're continuing the painting around our hairline to go all the way down the sides of our face, around our jawline towards our chin, and also the perimeter of our ears. Using my Sigma FX10 brush, I'm going to line around the circumference of my lips, both the top and bottom. You can paint over the red that you've already applied, you don't need to overdraw your lips in order to do this. We're going to use the same brush to deepen the line of the base of the crown. You might find it helpful to rest your elbow on a table when doing this, then all you have to do is pivot your hand to get a nice steady line all the way across. Next I'm adding some sketch lines onto the crown. I'm just applying these over where we've previously shaded, or you can copy wherever they are placed on your reference image. I'm going to finish off by adding some highlights. I'm using the Kryolan Aqua Colour in white, and I'm using again my Sigma FX10 brush. This is how glossy lips are portrayed in comic books. Adding a dot and a couple of lines makes it look like the light is reflecting off of them. And also a couple of highlights along the left side of the crown because we've got a bit more shading on the right side, and this will just look like the metal's reflecting. So I hope you all enjoyed my comic version of Wonder Woman. So the inspiration for this came from our Jennipede's Instagram account, and I will link that in the description bar so you can go and take a look. So if you did enjoy this style of tutorial, please give me a thumbs up. I know it's not going to be for everybody, but it is ideal if you're going out to a fancy dress or when Halloween rolls around and you want to go out as Wonder Woman. So this is a really good look if you're going to the MCM Comic Cons. We've got the one in London coming up in May. My partner and I always go because we exhibit there every year. So if you do see me behind my stand, say hello. So if you enjoyed the tutorial, give it a thumbs up because I do appreciate it. The wig I'm wearing is from Divas Wigs, and I will put a link to that in the description bar of the video, and the outfit is from buycostumes.com, and again I will link that in the description bar of the video. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments section below and I will get back to you. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you've missed either of my previous tutorials, they will be here. Don't forget you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and the links to those will be in the description bar below. Thanks for watching!